You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
Welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina and with me is my husband Steven.
Konnichiwa.
We just finished episode 38. Yes, haha, got it right. Fullmetal Alchemist. Steven, what did you think?
More chess pieces moving, but I thought in relation to Ed and Al's situation in this, I thought it was kind of interesting because they really didn't have a lot to do, but it also kind of, I mean, we've seen them fight before, but not like this.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they kind of had a bit of a falling out or a disagreement that led to a bigger falling out.
Yeah.
And then I felt like Winry, this was kind of more of an episode about her, or giving her a little bit more to do other than just being someone in the background, because it starts off with her standing at the grave of Hughes, and while she's there, Sheska rolls up, who she was actually the one, I couldn't remember her name, and that's why it was bugging me, but she was the one helping Archer in the last episode as he was kind of doing his investigations. And a lot of that kind of rolls over here because as they start talking, like, I guess they bump into each other at the grave, and then they go meet up, go to a cafe or something like that to have coffee. And then it's like they know each other, but I guess they haven't had a lot of interaction. So it's like, just kind of trading information. And Sheska kind of reveals that she's concerned about some things that she's discovered while investigating Hughes' death, and she doesn't know who she can trust. And she kind of wants to unload all this on Winry because she knows she's not someone who is within that inner circle of people that she can't trust because she's with Ed and Al and all that jazz. Meanwhile, Ed and Al are coming into a town, and they were having, what was it specifically that, well, first of all, they wrecked their tractor or whatever it may be, where Ed comes out with a foofy head of hair. Don't know what happened.
Yeah.
It just...
It exploded because he hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, as they're looking to find a replacement in this nearby town, they have an argument about, I guess it's kind of starts off with Al kind of pointing out how impulsive Ed can be. And then that just talks, of course, leads into the mission about Scar. And Al is kind of worried that if they stop him, then, it could affect their mission, their overall mission of what they've been trying to search for overall. And Al just thinks it would be a better idea to stop the homunculi. And, of course, Ed disagrees, and it just turns into it like a childish fist fight, but using alchemy.
Yeah.
So they just one-up each other with alchemy, just one after another, just doing shit to one another to the point where you're just like, what are you doing?
And that is one thing that I kind of like it because, I mean, obviously it's kind of funny as they're doing it back and forth to each other. But we know Ed and his skills with alchemy. He literally claps his hands together and he can transmute something.
Yeah.
However, Alphonse still has to draw a transmutation circle. But he has gotten it down so fast that he can almost transmute just as fast as his brother.
Yeah. I did notice that too, because it was so quick how he retorted back every time that Al would do something. He would come right back with something pretty quick. So I thought that was pretty cool. But
It shows that, both of them got skills.
Right. So as Sheska and Winry are discussing everything about her fears, her concerns, she does mention that she doesn't feel like she can trust Mustang. And when they go back to her, I guess it went back to her house, and we're kind of looking over a bunch of texts and things that she'd been investigating, she mentions the laboratory, she mentions the Ishbalan War, and what she learns is that there was a woman in the records that they blamed the death. It was a child, right? That was killed?
Yes. A soldier shot a Ishbalan child, and that's what started the war.
And the name attached to the child's death was a woman who'd been dead for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that just raised some questions. And then when she started kind of going up the ladder of or explaining all this stuff about how this woman's name was of a dead person, and then correlates it back to Fuhrer Bradley's secretary, and then just starts theorizing. It's like, who is this person? She's supposed to be in her 50s. She's supposed to be dead, and blah, 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 blah. And just going up until she decides that, maybe it's aliens. You're just like, what?
Oh, Sheska.
So now in this moment, I did kind of say to you, wouldn't Winry know about the homunculi? Now, perhaps she's not as well versed in all of it that would be the place that her brain would go. But considering everything that's been going on, wouldn't that be your primary starting point to be like, homunculi? That would make sense. But she doesn't come to that conclusion, which I was a little disappointed in her with.
Yeah.
And again, I mean,
it probably comes down to the fact that, one, they don't know how many homunculi there are.
Sure.
And two, it's supposed to be a very rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she didn't equate right away that, the secretary was a homunculi, because if you think about it, she looks nothing like the other homunculus.
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm. So I guess I can let that pass. It just seems like with everything going on, I feel like that would be your primary guessing start.
Mm-hmm.
Like where you would go and be like, well, homunculi have been a problem. It's probably that, maybe. But anyway, Al and Ed have kind of parted ways after their fight, and they're just kind of moping alone. And Al eventually runs into, what's her name? Marta?
Yeah, Marta.
Yeah, Marta, who was I had to be reminded, she was apparently the chimera who was like a snake,
mm-hmm.
who climbed into his armor. And then when you said that, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh yeah, her. So she ran into him, and we didn't quite know exactly what her deal was at that moment, but as they're kind of discussing or going back to Winry and Sheska, they're discussing everything about what they could do to possibly maybe unearth some possible evidence to maybe back up their theory of
mm-hmm.
aliens or whatever they think it might be.
To hopefully at least get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, because obviously they can't monitor her activities. They can't really keep tabs on her.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that she's always with the Fuhrer, so they're just trying to figure out what it's going to do, what they can do, maybe tap her phone or something like that. And then Marta, going back to her and Al, she admits that she'd been kind of following him and Ed for a little bit and hoping that they can get a little information from all that. And Al kind of questions what she's doing because, I mean, it's her seeking revenge after what happened to Greed, or is that right?
To all of them.
To all of them, pretty much. So she kind of points out she has nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and, because she's a chimera, what else can she do? So Al just kind of says, like, I'm not going to allow you to do that, if you will. But also kind of understands that it's similar to the Scar situation. But, what can you do?
Yeah.
And Ed is kind of still looking around. He also kind of has a moment where he remembers something that happened between, I guess, a previous fight as children between Ed and Al, and then remembers finding him at the edge of a riverbank. But it was had something to do with their dad, right?
Yes, Al kept asking Ed when their dad was coming back.
Which, I mean, we've heard him mention that before.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. So, anyway, Sheska and Winry decide to sneak into Central Command. Sheska gave her one of her uniforms, or Winry one of her uniforms, so they can kind of sneak by. And they walked by two other soldiers that Winry has had interactions with at previous times. So she has to try to hide her face as best she can. Then they wind up to this door that's got a bunch of locks on it, and Winry picks all the locks. Easy peasy, she say. Like it's no big deal. I was like, God damn. And while they're under there, they're looking to see about tapping the phones and finding out where the phone lines are connected. So as they're looking, they eventually kind of come across, what was it? Was there something else before that?
Well, they tapped the phone.
They tapped the phone.
And they, a call ends up coming in.
And that was with Envy.
And yes, it was Envy contacting Sloth, who is the secretary for Fury.
Right.
And Sloth automatically realizes that something's off with the phone call because you can hear like crackling and stuff like that. So she kind of gives a little bit of information without actually giving away information because she knows somebody's listening. And then when she gets off the phone, she makes a comment that there's something that she has to go deal with, of course, being whoever's tapping the phone. And then it cuts back to the little underground passage where Winry and Sheska is, and you just see kind of water dripping. And Sheska and Winry are talking about, the phone call and about wrapping everything up so they can get out. And then Sheska looks back and sees this giant blob water monster. And of course they get scared and they go crawling down this fucking passageway as fast as possible. And Winry gets caught on a pipe, and then she sees the face of the water monster, which is Sloth. And then what does she say, Steven?
She says, "Oh my God, that is Ed and Al's mom."
Yes. I was hoping you would recognize her long before this.
No, and I must have checked out for a brief moment because it didn't even occur to me that's who that was that came after them. And then I was like, wait a second, whoa. And then I was trying to piece all that together. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They all look drawn to me. They're all the same.
Well, I mean, Ed, as far as I can remember up to this point, he has seen Sloth, but just kind of brushed it off. Now, Al has seen her on more than one occasion, and he has the inkling of what she is. And who she is.
And there was even a brief moment in this episode where he kind of flashed on her for a few brief moments as he was looking for Ed.
Yes, because that was one of the things that has him torn up, because he knows eventually they're going to have to face the homunculi, which means they're going to have to face their mother. Yeah. Even though she's not technically their mother, she still is, because she was created from when they tried to bring their mom back.
Right. So as they're being approached by Sloth, and she sees the face and she makes that discovery, she kind of backs off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about the time that the two soldiers, or I guess they're soldiers.
Yeah, they are soldiers. They're the ones who were with Ed and Al when they snuck out and went to Laboratory 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one with the mole is the one that Envy disguised himself as when he killed Hughes.
So they show up and open up the panel outside of the tunnel they were crawling in.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they were just like, yeah, we thought that was you, when and that's about where we kind of left them, because they're relieved because Sloth disappears and they're safe for now.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, go back and you see Al kind of sitting on the riverbank, and he's just making little toys out of alchemy.
Yeah, he made that's why I kind of chuckled, because I don't think I ever paid attention to the little things he was making, other than, when you see him make the little horse.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a horse, a truck, and then a little poop. Like that looked like it was the first one he made, was the tiny little shit. It literally looked like the little shit emoji.
I must have missed that. But Ed eventually shows up, and they just pretty much don't say too much. It's just like, we're going, and we're going to head off to Ishbal. And about that time, Marta shows up on her motorcycle with a sidecar, and they just jump in and just like, I guess this is what we're doing. So they're just heading off and kind of mend fences. It's not the first argument they've had, probably won't be the last, but it happens.
And then Al lets a little inkling drop and said that they used to fight over who would get to marry Winry, and that was when they fought the hardest.
Which, unless Al can get his body back, it's kind of a no-brainer at this point. I hate to say it like that, but...
Well, at that time, it was when they were little, and,
sure.
It was just cute, because it finally acknowledged that he views Winry... Like, we always know that Ed obviously has, like, this... I wouldn't even say a love-hate relationship. Edward has feelings for Winry. He's just a stupid teenage boy and doesn't know how to articulate it. And Winry is just a stupid teenage girl and doesn't know how to articulate it.
Right.
But this is the first time where Alphonse really kind of admits that he has feelings for Winry, or at least had feelings for Winry.
And I guess that's understandable. Even despite growing up together and kind of being a sister, knowing she's not your sister and you're not really in that sisterly situation, it's just, you get to know each other, you get to grow up with them, and I could see where that could be. I feel like it would be no different, because I've heard these situations before and people are like, well, that's gross. And it's like, but it's really not. And that's when you have step siblings, maybe fine. But you see what I'm saying? They're not related.
No, but first of all, I don't think Alphonse or Edward ever viewed Winry as a sister.
In some context, she's like a sister.
Yes, in some context, she is like a sister. But they've made it very obvious, especially after their mom died, that it's like they repressed feelings for other people.
Yeah.
Like their mom was their family, and everybody else, while they still love them, like they love Grandma and they love Winry, but it's not the love that they had for their mom. So their mom is their family, and that's the end of discussion.
Yeah.
And Winry and Granny are just,
Okay. But you still laughed at my comment.
I laughed at your comment. It's so fucking south.
But it's...
I'm sorry. I have step siblings, and I would never...
No, I'm not saying you would. But I'm just saying, sometimes if you were put in that situation, I'm not saying I would either. I don't know. I've never been in that situation, probably never will. be in that situation. Cannot see that ever.
Hope to God you would never be in that
At
situation.
this point in my life, it should never be a factor. Ever. But I'm saying, I have known certain people who have been in that situation. And especially if you're a teenager and you're thrust upon you got two attractive young people, and their parents just happen to be together, and then now you're stuck together, and you're not blood related. I'm not advocating for it, but you understand what I'm saying.
Like the Brady Bunch, those awkward fucking moments,
like in the Brady Bunch sequel, where oh Christ, I can't even think of their names.
I am so sorry, my weebs. I know we put up with a lot in anime.
But no, again, I'm not advocating for incest, okay?
I know you're not.
Because this is not incestual. They are not related. It's just their parents happen to be divorced and they married each other. And now you've got these two people who may find each other attractive. But you have to say, well, I'm this person's stepbrother, or I'm that person's stepsister. Or maybe they're not they're brothers or sisters, and, they're gay. Who knows? I don't want to even throw it that way. I mean, I'm not trying to exclude it. I'm trying to be all inclusive. Okay, this could happen to anybody.
This has gone so far off the rails.
Because I'm just trying to make a point, because you laughed. Is that wrong?
No. I'll say this about the whole step-sibling thing. I feel like if it's one of those where, not Brady Bunch, because I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
Marcia and Greg,
maybe if the mom and dad were together for a little while and then split up, and then like the step siblings reconnected without being step siblings anymore, okay. But I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not saying that
maybe it's because I have step siblings.
I guess.
Like, I've always viewed them as my siblings. Like, I know they did not, come forth from my parents, but they are my siblings.
Right. But you knew them at a young age.
That's also true. That's also true.
That's what I'm trying to point out here. Is like, now granted, they did too.
Yes.
They did
Ed
too.
and Al have known Winry since they were all babies.
And again, they're not step siblings or anything like that. I'm just saying that if it was later in life, during teenage sexual situation. Peak, okay, 16, 17, 18.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
What do you do?
Yeah. Brady Bunch situation.
Greg and Marcia having to share a room. That's just not right. Of course it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And even the fact that they had to have that conversation. It's like, do you not know how this works? Of course not. You're Brady's. What's wrong with you? Anyway. I hope there are people out there who understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying you have to be attracted to your step sibling. I'm just saying that there is a possibility it could happen.
There is a possibility it could happen. There are people out there, and I definitely don't support this part, because again, I got step parents. I had a stepmom, but I have a stepfather, stepdad. And there's people out there who have, like, their parents, mother or father got divorced from the step parent, and then the fucking kid ended up getting with the step parent. Granted, they were older when the person became their stepfather, but then, yeah. See? Makes you uncomfortable. It's fucking... I'm not going to say it's weird.
Yeah, that's a hard one too. Because then because you have to start reassessing the entire situation of that relationship. Okay? Siblings is different. Because you're just two kids who are forced into this. You didn't ask for this.
Yeah,
your parents just got married and you're like, well, fuck, I got to live with this person now. And then suddenly you're just like, holy shit, they're kind of attractive. So what do I do?
And like the whole step sibling thing, what if you're already dating the person and then your parents hook up?
Yeah, that would be fucked up.
That would be fucked up.
But not really, because then you're like, well, we were here first. It's not our fault. But yeah, now with a child getting with a parent, vice versa, or whatever, in a step situation, they're not related.
Yeah.
It, like I said, you have to recontextualize the whole thing, because like, so were you attracted to this person? Again, age, I feel like comes into play.
Yeah.
Because if it's an older person,
Mm-hmm.
there's some wiggle room. But if you're talking about like you came into their life as they're a kid,
Yeah, that's a no.
and then you grew up, and then suddenly you're sexualizing this person that you may have raised at some. Yeah, you're getting into some weird ass territory.
And the sad thing is there's people out there that do that shit.
Yes, I know.
There's a celebrity that took a fucking loved celebrity from a fucking big ass franchise that is still going on. He is gone now. But when he died, he was in a relationship with his daughter's best friend that he took in when the girl was like 16. And they started dating when she was young, and he's in his fucking 30s. And most people are probably going to know who the fuck I'm talking about.
Who are you talking about? Just say it.
Paul Walker. Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. But, I mean, we don't speak ill of Paul Walker and his Fast and Furiousness.
I find it funny that people just seem to have forgotten that little tidbit of information when the man passed.
They're too worried about him showing up in the next Fast and Furious movie because he didn't die in the movie. So just like, well, they could bring him back, right? I know he's dead, but they could bring him back, right? I've heard those conversations. I'm not even joking.
Oh, I know.
That's ridiculous.
Somebody at work that talked about that shit. Anyway.
Back
to what we were talking about before my husband, God, I love you, went on a tirade about fucking
because you laughed. You laughed. So I felt like, am I wrong? Again, I've never been in this situation, but you laughed.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I just wanted to know.
You're gonna tell me I'm wrong?
Because if I missed something in my argument, I just wanted to be clarified, and maybe all your weebs can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying that it's you can't equate it.
I'm sorry. All I can think of is that fucking TikTok video. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? You're gonna tell me I'm wrong? She wore a tiara and came down in a bubble, Doug. Wicked Witch of the East, bro.
All right.
I know I didn't say it in the right order, but it still has me cracking the fuck up. Okay,
right.
anyway.
We've gone off the rails, so we finished this episode. We were just discussing whether or not it was okay for them to be lusting after Winry because they grew up with her as kind of a sister figure.
And to be in love with Winry.
Yeah, because their parents were never married to one another. Therefore, they were never step siblings. Therefore, they were just happened to be two little boys living with a little girl and her grandmother because the parents died. It's fine. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyway.
Oh my God.
I'm going to wrap it up because we've gone so far off and we're never going to recover. So, weebs, if you would, just tell us how far off we've gone. You can send us emails if you want, maybe. I don't know where at.
I'm crying.
But anyway, tell your friends to listen to our show. If you got anime friends out there who are looking for an anime podcast, tell your friends to find us on their favorite podcasting app because we're on all of them. And apparently, I found out today. How about this? You can upload podcasts on TikTok. Who knew?
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but I'll have to investigate. But maybe if TikTok is your jam, we'll be on TikTok before long. Who knows?
TikTok is awesome.
And where I'm at here. Oh, yeah. And if you want to support the show, you can do that on Patreon. You can also, while you're on your favorite podcasting app, you can hit that little 5-star thing and tell people like, this is my favorite anime podcast ever because they talk about step-sibling relationships.
Jesus Christ, no. Please don't let that be why you follow us.
And they told me it was okay.
I swear to God, we don't live in Alabama.
I'm sorry. Patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions and also pencilpaperproductions.com/inspiredweeaboo. Links are in the show notes for your convenience. Marry your step sibling if you want. I don't care.
Please don't listen to him. Okay, my little weaves, I love you, and I hope you made it all the way through this episode. We will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.